let's talk about Kanye.
Hey mama, this is my first Grammy Award winning record right here. Well, it hasn't won a Grammy yet, but just keep this on file.
Singing the world premiere of Hey Mama, Kanye West!
I want everybody to put your hands together like this. Hey Mama, I want to scream so loud.
And at one part of the evening, I introduced Kanye West. Were you watching?
Nope.
You remember what he said?
Yes, I do. Call me a racist.
George Bush doesn't care about black people. I feel like in some ways like I'm a soldier of culture. And I realize that no one wants that to be my job, and I'll never go on stage again. I'll never sit in an award show again, but will I feel convicted about things that really meant stuff to culture that constantly get denied for years and years and years and years? I'm sorry. I will. I cannot lie about it in order to sell records.
Yo, Taylor, I'm really happy for you. I'm gonna let you finish. But Beyonce had one of the best videos of all time.
It was one of the most cringeworthy moments in award show history.
Rap is the new rock and roll. We the rock stars. I just told you who I thought I was, a god. But to say you are a god, especially when you got shipped over to the country that you're in and your last name is a slave owner's. How could you say that? How could you have that mentality?
This was me when I was like 14, 15, freshman in high school, and this is me when I was 18 and a senior in high school. From the outside looking in, this looks like a regular glow up, but as the person who experienced it, let me let you take a peek behind the curtain. This kid was painfully awkward, and he had friends because he knew how to be funny, and he was also considered the weird kid for a lot of the same reasons. I spent the first few years of high school incredibly alienated from my peers because I was a weird kid. That included not being fully tuned into the modern pop culture and even being judgmental towards it. Who knew it? Watching a lot of South Park and Tosh.0 growing up would give you a very cynical sense of humor and worldview. Pair that up with the discovery of early Tumblr, which would turn that cynicism into overcorrective social awareness. Outside of a small circle of friends, I was considered very rude, elitist, and I was. But most damning, I think, is the fact that I was a little bit of a music snob. I grew up listening to all sorts of popular music, from Linkin Park to the Black Eyed Peas. But as I got to the age where the resources were available to go back and listen to anything from history that I wanted to listen to, the best music to me was by David Bowie, Queen, Chuck Berry, Little Richard, and Neil Young. And the fact that I was familiar enough with modern music, then pair that up with the fact that playing music was a huge part of my life as a teenager, I didn't just like different music. I was right, because who can go wrong with time-tested classics? And how is the average teenager going to out-debate an honors student who plays multiple instruments when he says that their favorite music sucks? You can't. And if I sound insufferable, it's because I was. I think the real reason I had this perspective is because when I'd listen to the radio, nothing made me feel anything, like, emotionally. But if I went back to older music, they were talking about a time that I never experienced. It was expanding my worldview. It was challenging me. And at this age, 14 to 15, my world, my perspective was so small, and my comprehension of art was in development. So everything was black and white. Either it was amazing or it was garbage. And I didn't know how to add nuance to that. I didn't know how to explain why I liked the things I liked and why I didn't like the things I didn't. And all of this that I'm explaining is probably why my class nominated me for Born in the Wrong Decade my senior year. But by the time I was a senior, this didn't really apply anymore.
We got Tom Tobin here. I know you're nominated for something. What are you nominated for?
I'm nominated for Most Memorable and somehow Born in the Wrong Era. Hillary Clinton doesn't care about.
Hold up, promise I will never go blonde like Kanye.
But as much as this bigger picture matters, music is an incredible force. Music connects people around the world. If you like the same music as someone or trust their taste, that's a very easy subject to fall back on. But if you insult someone's favorite music, that's a very easy way to alienate people. Because music is pretty close to a religious experience, especially when you are a fan of Kanye West.
Go listen to all my music. It's the codes of self-esteem. It's the codes of who you are. If you're a Kanye West fan, you're not a fan of me, you're a fan of yourself. I'm just a shot in the morning to get you going, to make you believe that you could overcome that situation. You will believe in yourself.
There was a guy I followed on Tumblr, of all places, who swore by it. He swore up and down, Kanye West is the greatest artist of our generation. And to his credit, at that time, he was right. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy to this day is one of the greatest contributions to music and culture the world has ever seen. The way that each song leads into the next, the visuals that complemented the work, including the runaway short film telling an abstract story that didn't fully make sense but followed the through line of the album.
First rule in this world, baby, Don't pay attention to anything you see in the news.
And going from listening to music that was produced mostly, if not entirely, with live instruments to Kanye West, who was never the greatest rapper, so he had to make up with that by being the best at producing his own songs after being the best at producing other people's songs. Listening to him opened up my mind to how modern technology was not being used as a crutch for modern musicians, but rather enhancing music as a whole. And Kanye West was at the forefront of that movement. Kanye's career around the time I started listening to him was being spent making songs that utilized sounds that nobody had ever thought to use before. And in many cases, when he had an 808s and Heartbreak or a Yeezus that often debuted to poor reception, would end up shaping the landscape of music for the next several years to actually age extraordinarily well. But of course, I wasn't just listening to what he was making then. I had to go back and listen to everything he had done. I had to go relive College Dropout, Late Registration, Graduation, everything that was out at that time prior to Yeezus. And while inventing once-in-a-lifetime sounds, Ye was also using his knowledge of design to create a marriage between sound and visuals. So what grabbed me more than the music itself was the aesthetics matching the music. You look at the College Dropout to Graduation evolution, pink polos and cardigans into more neutral but thought-out formal wear, then the futuristic Akira-inspired look with the iconic shutter glasses, only to get more extreme with the all-gray and the red accents and 808s, then the all red in My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. And the craziest part is going back and looking at the evolution of how people dressed in all of these periods and even years later, and seeing how Kanye West managed to influence that. I bought this from a department store right before the pandemic. Are you telling me that this is not inspired by 808 and Heartbreak era Kanye? Like, this is not Kanye West merch, this is not associated with Kanye West. The presentation was its own work of art, not unlike David Bowie, who I thought was like the peak of like creative minds in music. So when Ye was calling himself a god all over the media and preaching about his own greatness, as a young, impressionable kid, I was inclined to believe him. Once I listened to Kanye's whole discography, it was like I unlocked all these perks that came with it. You've unlocked style, confidence, charisma, diplomacy. Is it diplomacy or diplomacy? I'm not gonna pretend I became like a perfect person or like a completely different person, but I became a much better version of myself. I no longer cared if people thought I was weird for what I liked. I knew that what I liked was cool. I knew that I was cool for liking it, so my whole attitude changed. Once I opened my mind to Kanye, that would open my mind to modern music as a whole. And I don't think it's a secret that for most of the 2010s, the innovation in how music was being made and being presented was happening in hip-hop, which not only made hip-hop the most popular genre among my age, but that also made it the genre of the most interesting artists to me, which is a stark contrast from where we started. Because it sounds so simple, but having a genuine interest in the same thing as the people around me suddenly made me feel much less alone. Being a part of the hype around Views from the Six, playing Panda into the ground at every get-together, blasting King Kunta out of my friend's car as we drove down the street after our last day of high school. Music that I would have never bothered to listen to if it wasn't for Kanye West was the backdrop for the moments in my teenage years where I actually felt accepted. The whole point I'm trying to make here is I have a lot to thank Kanye for. A lot of the confidence I have today started from Kanye. The ability to speak with convictions about the things I care about and channel my passions into that came from Kanye. Would I have ever started making videos if it wasn't for Kanye? Probably not. I'm 24 now. So what happened after I graduated?
These countries aren't sending their finest. They're sending people that are like got a lot of problems.
To solve a problem, you have to be able to state what the problem is, or at least say the name. But the name is there. It's radical Islamic terror.
I'm not just saying Mexicans. I'm talking about people that are from all over that are killers and rapists.
I'm going to force them right back into their country. They're murderers and some very bad people.
We're going to build the wall. We have no choice.
Build that wall. Build that wall. Build that wall. Build that wall.
This means that Donald Trump will be the 45th president of the United States.
I remember the day it happened. A lot of people were scared. I, for one, was confident Trump wouldn't win because I naively believed in my fellow American. And I didn't know how to process that at 18 years old. That the people around me really voted for someone who used racist agitprop as the entire basis of his campaign. And when I say the people around me, don't bring up the whole popular vote thing. The people around me did. Michigan went red for the first time since Reagan. Like, it was the people around me. And the way I coped was to put my head down, put my earbuds in, turn on ultralight beam, and just shut out the world around me and focus on moving forward.
But if I would have voted, I would have voted on Trump.
Rapper Kanye West is no stranger to controversy, but his latest comment on the topic of slavery may be causing the biggest furore yet.
You hear about slavery for 400 years? For 400 years, that sounds like a choice.
There is fact and real world, real life consequence behind everything that you just said. The rest of us in society have to deal with these threats to our lives.
Fuck Trump. He trying to shoot us, man.
All those thugs, and we're out here living through hundreds of years of discrimination and a bunch of stigma that we face every single day.
From the 400 years of slavery that you said was a choice. Ask everybody in here how many times we've had a Kanye West story and I've stood there the only person to defend Kanye West because what you meant to me, and then after that you slapped me in my fucking face by getting next to people who mean me harm.
So when that guy, that same person I've praised up until this point, came out in support of Donald Trump, myself and many others felt betrayed. There was also concern, because this was out of character for the guy who showed public support for Hillary during her campaign. And it was also accompanied by reports of Ye's mental and physical health not doing that great. And I don't want to go into the gritty details of the fall of Kanye West from that perspective, because that feels really gross and dehumanizing whenever I see people do that. Long story short, Kanye West spent the better half of the last 5-6 years just embarrassing himself. But despite that, Kanye West was and still is one of the biggest celebrities in the world. Something he has always struggled with, and something that he even blames for a lot of his personal hardships. And I know it's hard to feel bad for a billionaire. It's really hard to feel bad for a billionaire. Even with all of his struggles, he always has the option to just step away. Ye has the means to go into the mountains of Wyoming and just isolate himself, to leave the country and not be in the limelight. He has the option to do that. A lot of us, when we are going through our struggles, we have to continue on and do whatever it is we are doing, often doing these same things that are causing us to struggle to begin with, and we don't have the option. But Ye understandably feels he has a responsibility to use his platform, being the person he is, because not a lot of people have that platform, and there are a lot of people who would love to have that platform to do a lot of good. So he feels like he has to take advantage of that and use that to its greatest potential, even if he's not in the right state of mind to do so. Times have changed, and so has Kanye, and it's been time for Kanye to pass the torch.
Who are you?
You a big fan of Ye?
Yeah, I think he's really good.
Yeah, I think he's a really good artist. Yeah.
Donald Glover in 2013 dubbed himself the second coming of Kanye, and ever since then he's been proving that. His rap career was initially dismissed before he dropped classic albums back to back. His critically acclaimed show Atlanta is not only a groundbreakingly Afro-surreal look at the state of America, but has kickstarted the mainstream careers of his co-stars. Glover embodies the same type of creative range that Kanye did in his prime, inspiring many to do as I am now and draw comparisons between the two. Glover has also expressed a desire to work with Kanye, but that has never happened.
Growing up as an inner city black kid, I wasn't the most masculine. I liked pink and shit. Growing up liking pinks and colors and patterns and all that shit wasn't cool. Luckily, I had people around me who trusted me and didn't judge me. And motherfuckers like y'all who fuck with me to allow me to keep pushing that shit, you know? My friend, could you come give me that? My friend Mr. West is gonna give me something. I wanna... Thank you, mister. I love you so much. Thanks for coming.
You see the lines on your record in my hands right here.
Yeah, when you showed me that, I was just like, oh,
but I'm glad you put that battery in my back, man, when you said that line, man. I don't think it would have been a Yeezus if it wasn't for you. I don't think it would have been like this verse right here if it wasn't for you.
Tyler, the Creator, is a newer example of this in a much more direct way. Tyler shares Kanye's love for fashion and similarly influenced the style of the modern day with his bright and colorful aesthetic. Tyler's also considered a juggernaut both in music and fashion, constantly reinventing himself and pushing the envelope while being greatly inspired by Kanye. And unlike Glover, Tyler has worked with Kanye on multiple occasions. Kanye has shown public support for both Tyler, Creator, and Donald Glover on multiple occasions. In fact, Kanye tweeting out some of Tyler's early songs are what people credit for Tyler initially blowing up when he did. But compare that to how Kanye treated Big Sean, Travis Scott, Kid Cudi, or Chance the Rapper. Kanye has been known to take young and up-and-coming artists under his wing and work with them directly in a very hands-on way. But he never did that for Glover, probably because they're the same age, if I'm gonna be honest. But even Tyler, who he had a relationship with, he never did that to the same extent. But maybe that's for the best. It's possible that Kanye's ego is the reason. I could see him not wanting to mentor someone who could very realistically eclipse him, but maybe not.
You know what it is? Look at my legs.
I was definitely in a way. Because it's also undeniable that the two having their success be any more tied to Kanye would have made it harder for them. Because as much as both resemble Kanye, they're also distinctly different. Unlike the other artists who I mentioned, where their brand being in part associated with Kanye does seem to hold them back in a lot of ways.
I met Kanye West, I'm never going to fail. No.
God damn it! Which brings us to today. Kanye is still very much in the public eye, but he's gone from being a respected artist to... I don't even know, dude. The last album that I could bring myself to listen to front to back was the self-titled Ye album, and that was the first time I listened to Kanye, and I didn't feel anything. The production wasn't bad, the songs weren't bad, but nothing on the album stuck with me in any sort of meaningful way. As a longtime listener of Kanye West, it has been very obvious to me for a while that Kanye West is past his prime in music, which is fine. His legacy is set in stone, but stone can be eroded, and sometimes it does feel like Kanye is doing everything in his power to reverse his legacy. Because I feel like now a lot of people do try to avoid acknowledging how important Kanye West was because of his controversies. I honestly think that part of this is being as famous and outspoken as Kanye West is. It doesn't matter if he's right or wrong. The media has always responded the same way. The fact that Kanye genuinely thought that his career was over when he interrupted Taylor Swift goes to show how much the media can frame the public opinion in a different way, and also how much that was affecting Ye. Because most people agreed with Kanye. Beyonce deserved that award. Even if he was blunt about it and being inconsiderate to a young artist, most people making jokes about it were laughing with him. If anything, it made people respect him more, because he was willing to go out on a limb and get fast blasted by the media to say what we were all thinking. It's very similar to Will Smith's slap, where every media outlet took the opportunity to just talk about how awful of a person Will Smith is, and if you're disconnected from the common man, you might think that's what the popular opinion is. But really, most people are just thankful that Will Smith made the Oscars interesting for once, and now just wish that everyone would move on. They don't care that Will Smith slapped Chris Rock. They don't want to see him lose everything over that, and nobody wanted to see Kanye lose everything over interrupting Taylor Swift. I mean, some people did. The Swifties are pretty brutal, but the vast majority of people wanted to see Kanye continue doing what he was doing. And I also think about how popular media outlets came down harder on Kanye for that than a lot of the other stuff he's done that's actually bad. I think it speaks to what the level of public shaming can do to a person's mental health, because at this point, I can't really blame Kanye if he can't tell right from wrong when he gets punished the same way for everything. Like, if I was Kanye and the only thing I had to go off of was what TMZ is saying, I would think no matter what I say, I'm gonna get destroyed. And that's how a lot of people end up down the alt-right pipeline, let's be honest. Am I saying that we should all just forgive Kanye and support everything he does blindly? No, not at all. I think that we should hold him accountable for the things that he's done, but what does holding Ye accountable actually look like? Does it look like tweeting about it? Here's my perspective. I don't care what Kanye West does or says, because at this point, I've taken to heart the lesson that Kanye West taught me years ago, where I'm no longer a fan of Kanye West, I'm a fan of myself. And what Kanye West does with his life, even if the things that he says could potentially harm me in a way, I have no control over that. I have no control over what Kanye says, but I will say this, at this point, I don't support Kanye financially in any way. I don't stream his music. I don't do any of that. I appreciate what Kanye West did for me in the past. I appreciate how that has contributed to the person I am today, but I don't need to support him. And that's enough. I don't need to go on Twitter and form a harassment campaign to put him in a worse spot than he already is, because he's clearly already struggling. I mean, I could just lay into Kanye West right now. I could say he's all these things, but what would that really accomplish? My point for this video is to just acknowledge that Kanye West had a very positive impact on me in the years where I definitely needed that positive impact. Kanye West has changed the world in very positive ways, and I wish that people could acknowledge that. But I think that the more that we demand another album, the more that we wait for a return to form, a return to the old Kanye, I think the more we're going to be disappointed, and I think Kanye West has done enough.
That's enough, Mr. West. Please, no more today.
Also, follow me across the internet at TommyPQM, and that's it. That's the whole thing.